Uh, so if we go to a carpenter's um, toolbox, or plumber or electrician or some, whatever, um, we might pull out a hammer and say, okay, this is a sort of a gross, blunt instrument. It's not a precision instrument. Kind of however you look at it, it's not a precision instrument. And um, if we pull out their chisel, it's not a precision instrument, right? But if you pull out the tape measure, it is a precision instrument. If you pull out the torpedo level, it is a precision instrument. But a lot of people will not look at, including carpenters, will not look at the torpedo level and the um, tape measure or ruler as a precision instrument. They'll sort of treat it as roughly as the hammer, which they might kind of throw in their toolbox or sort of drop on something while they're working on something else, right? But if they happen to have a compass in their toolbox, you'd expect they'd always place it or put it in a little, protective pouch and then put it away. I don't know why they'd need a compass, but those things are precision instrument. They're certainly made durably. If you buy a ruler, or a tape measure, or torpedo level, but it shouldn't be knocked around. If it comes out of calibration, it can't do the job that you are then thinking it's doing when you next use it, right? Similarly, you know, for a doctor, you might think that, the stethoscope is just like a couple bits of rubber hose with a generic kind of rubber ear thing, and whatever the membrane is doesn't seem precision, but it is. You can't just throw it places. You have to hang it or place it. You don't just sort of get 2 inches from the counter and drop it, because it'll come out of its function, right? Although the doctor has whatever they call the little hammer that's not a precision instrument. They could probably open the drawer and sort of toss it in, and it's going to work fine next time. And I'm sure the doctor has a bunch of other instruments that aren't all that precise, and it's fine. But you have to recognize when you have a precision instrument and treat it with due care. And if you don't, it doesn't work with the precision that you expect it's providing. So you are getting inaccurate information from it, inaccurate functionality. But also, you might just have to replace it. If you literally break the tape measure, like, well, I just got to replace it. And a lot of carpenters will look at it that way. It's a business cost. It's $11. I get a discount at the lumber yard. I'll just throw it all the time, and when I need a new one, it's $11. I'll get another. But if you really take care of it, particularly if you have a nice quality one, so it's healthy, it could last you your whole career, or 25 years or something. And I'm sure the same thing goes for the stethoscope. You might find that the one you get coming out of medical school lasts you 22 years or something. I'm just sort of guessing, as opposed to I got to replace one twice a year, right? Um, and I switched my language there right at the end to say healthy, which is not the term you'd probably use for a precision tool in the toolbox, because the whole time I've been talking about the feet. It's very easy for us to think about the feet as a dull, gross, uninteresting tool that, I mean, I get it. I use it all the time. I build everything else on it, but I don't know. It just does its thing. It's just down there. I certainly don't think about it as much as I think about my hands, right? You probably check your nails every day, whether you're cleaning under them or filing them or just cleaning them. Same thing with your hands. You're aware of them. You're looking at them. Maybe you're worried about a liver spot or arthritis, or just kind of interested in what they do. But how often are you down there with your feet? Unless you have an issue in your feet, right? You have a, plantar wart, or a, toenail fungus, or a, sprained ankle, or you're probably down there. But other than that, you're just like, they do their job. I don't have to think about them, right? But there are a lot of joints in your feet. There are a lot of bones. That's why there's a lot of joints in the feet. There's a lot of structural going on. And even though it's all my body weight, just sort of dumbly, is that the word I want? Kind of, you know, uh, uh, I'm thinking dumb, like they say, a dumb bomb compared to a smart bomb, but whatever it is. I kind of think of them as, well, I just give it my weight. It does its job. I don't have to think much about it until I stub my toe. But in fact, that foot and all of its sensors, all of its joints, all of its different types of tissues, despite being under the burden of all of your mass and disinterest, is a very sensitive tool to listening to what's there and adjusting to it, and then both actively and inactively addressing um, the state of the ground that you're on. Some of it's active. That doesn't mean you're consciously directing it, but it's active. And some of it's inactive, which is really a story of the state of the materials that are involved. So, for example, if you had your foot very tensed up, like you were cramping or what have you, the material is a material that's pliable, but it's not in a pliable state or particularly pliable. So then you puncture your foot on something that it would have otherwise molded around. So the state of the materials is quite important. It's not just the materials, that there's a callus and that there's a muscles and so forth, but it's the state of the materials. And it's also that inactive and active or engaged consciously or otherwise sensory apparatus, which is why I kind of was mentioning stethoscope as my choice of tool before. It's like I'm listening with the feet, right? So we go back to where we started the whole thing. If you're not caring for the feet, right, you're going to have to, I guess you just go down to the lumberyard and replace it because they're cheap. Actually, wait, the metaphor falls apart. You can't do that. So you have to care for it at every turn. And I don't mean pedicures, right? But I mean using it, challenging it, massaging it, learning about it, exercising it. Um, and, the feet can handle you running on them, which is, I don't know what it works out to, like 6 times your body weight slamming down on your feet or something like that. I mean, it's just incredible that what my teacher called a bag of bones can just land, mold, adjust, change the state of its tissues, and then receive your weight, and then rebound, right? Try and recover much of that energy to drive you back. Now we're talking a little bit more about the Achilles and the calf and so forth, but the foot is involved in that too, right? So anyway, let's hear it for the feet. You're right.